This video is to show how to use lsdtopotools in an ipython notebook. So you can get ipython and lsdtopotools installed on your system, but the easiest way to do that is through our Docker container. So here's where you get the Docker container. You can basically go to this website. If you just go onto Docker Hub and go into lsdtopotools, into the pytools Docker, you can get that Docker container. It's got all the instructions in it, but basically you would go into your PowerShell window once Docker is installed. I'm not going to explain how to do that. That's for another video. But so you grab the container with a pull command. I've already done it, so this is going to take no time at all. And then you start it. It has a port call to tell the container that it wants to be able to connect to a local internet connection, so I can do the ipython browser in a browser window. But that is all explained in the instructions in the Docker container, so you can basically, you're just copying from here. So I'll just scroll down. So basically I've just copied this line right here. So I start that up. And the next thing I do is I want to start a Jupyter notebook inside the Docker container. So I just start that. And now it says you should go to this notebook using this HTTP address. You don't want to do that because that would only work inside this container. But what you're going to do is you're going to get a website or a browser on your local computer, and then you're going to go to localhost, and it'll ask for a password. It's already told you, or a token, so it's already told you this. See, so here is the token. I'm going to log in here, and this shows me all my files that are within lsdtopotools. So I've linked lsdtopotools to this Docker container, so I basically see all the stuff that's in my lsdtopotools on my local computer inside this ipython notebook. I can see everything. So if I go to ipython notebooks, I'm going to go to one I've prepared already, basic topographic analysis. Okay, and then I'm just going to start this notebook. So here is our notebook. Oh, actually, I've forgotten to do something. I'm going to need to close all this. Before I do that, shut this down. Before I do that, I need to install some local Python. Oops, install. So there's a bunch of local Python packages. I have a script to install this, so you need to do that first. So it does all this stuff. Okay, so once it's finished with that, so that's just grabbing and installing some Python scripts. Then I just go back to do this again. Okay, so I can go back to this. Right, so now what I'm going to do, this is just a few examples of how to get Topotools analysis working here. So I just import a bunch of stuff. These are all from lsdviztools, and I have another one called lsd parameter selector. You'll see what that does in a second. So first of all, we're going to grab some data. So I have an object that allows you to scrape data from OpenTopography, and you tell it what kind of data you want. You tell it what the corners of the data are. So just run that. This tells me what the parameters are. I haven't downloaded anything yet. You just call that object and download. So it takes a little while to connect to OpenTopography. Once this is finished, you see this has a star here. It's still downloading. So once this is finished, it says finish downloading. Now that gives us a TIFF file in a geographic coordinate system. So I need to convert it to UTM, and I need it to convert it to NVBIL format. That's the format that lsdtopotools use. So I just run these two commands. and basically that's done all those conversions for me. So now we've got the right sort of projection and we've got the right sort of DEM. Now the second part is I want to run a topographic analysis. So what I've got is a little object that makes a kind of interface to select parameters for an lsdtopotools run. So lsdtopotools, it's C++ code, it runs from the command line, but I'm going to run it using this little Python widget thing. So I start the widget, and then I've got to set it running. So now I've got this widget, and it basically can allow you to pick all the things you want. So for basic processing, let's remove the C's. I want to write a hillshade, and let's get a slope raster. So print the slope. Okay, and actually the other thing I want to do is I want to print the raster without C's, so I don't get raster width. So removing C's is basically turning anything below 0 to no data. Okay, so I've made those selections. The widget gets read. So basically I need to, so the widget is storing all this information and I need to read that widget. So that's, I read it here. And then what I get out is this dictionary of parameters, which I'm going to pass to another thing. So basically it's just setting all these parameters. So I use this for the next part. So the next part is I initiate something called a topotools driver, and this is going to call the command line tool. So it prints all the parameters here. You don't have to print the parameters just to make sure if you're doing it. And then you run this command line tool. So what the command line tool is doing, it's actually running the C++ code underneath the hood. So when I run this, it doesn't look like it's done anything, but if I go back into the Linux system, it's run lsdtopotools in the background. Okay, so what's that's done is it's actually, so if I go into that notebook, it's actually done all this analysis. So it's basically done the hillshade. I actually did a channel network earlier, but so you've got hillshade, you've got the slope raster that we called for, and it even wrote the driver function. So this was the list of the parameters, and you could recreate the analysis just with the command line tool if you wanted to in the future. Okay, so back to the Python. So let's plot some of the data. So first of all, we've got a simple hillshade thing. So I'm just gonna, so I tell it where the file is, I say what the base file, so the prefix of the file, and then I run this. Okay, and it goes through some stuff. So it doesn't immediately print to file, or it does print to file, it doesn't print to screen. So what we need to do, we need to get the image name. Actually that's prepared before, but basically we get the image name, this is what it is, and you can show the figure by putting this as markdown in the ipython and pasting in the name of the figure. So I'll just execute that, and this is what it looks like. Okay, and then we can also print the slope map. So I use a simple drape. I've got some parameters in here that I can change, and I get the name of the image, and again, that's the name of the image. So I can just paste that in, run that in Markdown, and I get the image. So that's just a little overview of how to get topotools working in an ipython notebook. And hopefully that's useful and you can play around with that yourself.